Tell me about the podcast. So what are your plans for this? This sounds exciting to me. Are you pumped up about it?
I am so excited. Yeah, I released my first podcast yesterday. And so.
Wow. First podcast yesterday. You're here today. Mom's birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is a good trifecta.
This is a good trifecta.
Yes,
oh,
I'm telling
I love
you,
that.
Kelly.
Yeah. So my word for the year is gather. And I want to have conversations that hopefully draw people in and help them make the choice to move on or to get better or to, even if it's a small little choice that helps you be happier, live happier. And some of the people who are in the book are coming on to be interviewed. But I'm also just in the podcast community. As I've been going on podcasts as guests, I'm meeting the most incredible people.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, you need to come
Right.
talk to my audience.
And now here is singer-songwriter, broadcaster, audio-video artist, entertainment agent, and your host. It's the master storyteller himself, James Kevin O'Connor.
Hey, 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 we're on our way. Hello, 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 my friends. Thank you for tuning in once again. So glad for the comments you guys have made about the YouTube channel and the videos that we're doing on this podcast. Thank you so much. And there's a link in the show notes. Would you please subscribe? And thank you in advance for doing that. So today we have this award-winning publisher and owner once of this hyperlocal news publishing company that she sold in the Middle Tennessee area and retired from that industry only to start her own new industry, which I love this. So believing that travel feeds the soul and grows the heart and mind, she embarked on a 2-year travel sabbatical to write her first book and manifest her new life. Her travel included trips to Utah, Grand Canyon, Arizona, Buenos Aires, Patagonia, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Boston, Cape Cod, Newport, Rhode Island, Bar Harbor, Maine, and a 30-day sailing rally from Los Angeles to La Paz, Mexico. So strap up your seatbelts because we're taking a ride from the Music City to Brentwood, Tennessee to hang out with Kelly Collins.
Yeah.
Kelly Collins is my guest on Podcasting Your Global Career. And we're in Salt Lake City, and we just had a wonderful masterminding session, which was really cool.
It was.
And Kelly, it was the story you told really had me, like I felt goosebumps and pain and joy and all kinds of emotions. Why don't we start with your practice or your career that you had in Tennessee, and where you were a publisher and built a company all by yourself and had many, many years with that, and what transcribed after that.
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, I started it with a partner, and she exited after 4 years, and then I was running it by myself. Built the team up. I was scaling quickly, so we were adding a different news site every year, and so which was feeding the owner's need for creativity.
Yeah.
I love to create new products. So, and I was loving that, but something was going wrong at home and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. In 2017, I had the trifecta of change in that I became an empty nester and I found out my 30-year marriage was ending due to betrayal, and which led to divorce, and that meant I needed to sell my business.
Wow.
So in Tennessee, it's assets must be split. And so that meant the business would have to be split, and I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of soul searching. I went on this big, long hike in Spain, and on that hike, I just kind of laid out really just the next 6 months, I couldn't think too far ahead.
Yeah.
At one point, I was 6 days, I think. But, and so I came home, I had already filed for divorce, and I decided to sell the business. It happened really quickly, like within 4 months.
Yeah.
And I stayed in that same life. I just went to a different neighborhood, bought a similar house, and then the company bought mine, and then I had to stay for 3 years. So I just really started getting stuck.
Yeah.
So I was basically living a new version of my old life.
Wow.
But I had a runway, this 3 years that I had to stay.
Yeah.
Right. And so I thought if I could come up with a plan of something new and exciting, that would be the way, that I could give myself something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And, once I realized that whole new version of my old life, I knew I needed to make a big change. So I went to my brother and I said, what if I quit my job, if I retire, because I was going to be 55. So what if I retire and I travel for a year, maybe 2, and just go on sabbatical and really go inside. And that's what I ended up doing. And
you ran away from home.
I ran away from home.
Damn, I
it
love
was
that.
Freaking awesome. Yeah. But while I was doing that, I deepened my gratitude practice. I really started thinking about all the people who had helped me get past the divorce and all the advice that had been given to me. And you can look back in your life and go, boom, that was a pivotal moment. Yeah. Bam, that was a pivotal moment. And so you can just those pop moments, and it started forming into a book.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a book called The Swipe Right Effect: The Power to Get Unstuck, and every chapter is an interview with a friend who gave me some advice, and we talk about the advice, and then I asked them to share how they learned it. What did they go through that taught them that, so that they could share it with me? And it just became this big pay it forward from my friends to me back out to the public. And
you're also creating a podcast with that title, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, great title too.
The Swipe Right Effect.
And I love that. Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah. It's just when you're in a dating app and you're swiping right, that means you're choosing someone. And so what I'm suggesting from the first page of my book is to choose yourself. Yeah. Swipe right for yourself. And the effect of the swipe right, of choosing yourself, is that you've just made a choice to improve your life. You've just made a choice for yourself. And that is the first thing towards a happy life. And it took so many steps to get where I'm at now. But I'm happier than I've ever been, despite everything I've been through. And maybe because of everything I've been through.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Out of all the travels and the journeys and all the things you've done, how many people did you meet that were doing what you were doing?
Oh, wow. We kind of attract each other.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, on the Camino, everybody is there.
Right.
To figure out something, to get a question answered. And so it's such a wonderful, safe atmosphere because everybody else is there to do their work.
So do you feel like, I guess I should have said, in your circles of when you were in business, how many people did you meet that were doing this, what you just did? It just seems like most of us work and whip and slave and tick the boxes and make sure the house is the same as our neighbors or whatever. And, that's the recipe for success. A lot of people just live and die by and don't really ever think to do something like you did. Like just say, and you did it partly by choice, but also partly by, there's nothing else for me to do at this point. I need to do something drastically different to uncover what's really going on in here.
Yeah. Sometimes life chooses those moments for you, and sometimes you choose them for yourself.
Yeah.
I didn't choose what had happened to me 3 years before, but I did choose this.
Yes, exactly.
And so it was a lot more empowering to do that than it was to before. I had a good friend, Bill, who's the one who told me about the Camino to begin with. He had hiked 2 of them and ended up doing one more. And he had been through something similar and he called it the Great Cleansing of 2010. And that's what he did when he got divorced, and he actually lost his company, which was even harder than what I went through. But, and he did it and came out the other side with this whole new life. And so I had this beautiful example in front of me. And then when I was making the decision, I ended up meeting this fellow pilgrim who had done it exactly 1 year after I had, in the same time frame, and he was 6 months ahead of me on the quitting. I call it the quitting.
Yeah.
And I tongue in cheek, but I really do mean that, and I have a reason I say that. But but so I had two really good examples of people who I just look at them and they're beaming.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like now. I'm like, can you see like how good I feel? Like, not that I look good, but that I'm just the vibration of happiness. Yeah, that energy.
Yeah, it's almost like there's been an elephant with his foot on your chest all this time. You don't even know it until he takes it off, and you like. I'm using 100% of my lungs now, where I was only using 50 before.
Oof, great analogy.
Yeah, it's really. But I guess, when you see people who go through this, and you kind of you say to yourself, why are not more people like looking at their life that way? I mean, why are we not brave enough to do what you did? Because you went to all these countries, you took a year and just said, I'm going to just dig and dig until I find out what is it that I really want, or what's got to occur to me, or what is the healing or the cleansing or whatever it is.
Right.
And I think the freedom is not knowing what it is. That's
exactly.
some of the cool part, it's like.
Yeah, I had very little plans. I would pick where I was going.
Yeah.
I might research like the touristy spots, so that I kind of knew what I'd go see. I usually didn't pick where I was going to stay until right before I went, and I wouldn't book through the whole time, with the exception of Buenos Aires. I knew I was going for 5 weeks, and I booked an Airbnb for 5 weeks. It was so cheap. I mean, it's a great place to go on a budget.
Yeah.
And that's, part of the early retirement was I had to be on a budget.
Right.
And I had stayed in hostels. I wasn't afraid to stay in hostels. And I think... But that solo travel, there's something so much deeper there than just the excitement of travel and seeing the touristy spots. It's the courage that it takes to do it.
Yeah.
Helps you grow. And your spirit becomes freer. Your heart gets bigger from the people that you meet and the people that accept you. When you're traveling alone, people are so kind.
Yeah.
And especially, I don't know, I'm sure it's with men too, but with women, older couples always wanted to know what was going on with me. Why was I sitting in the square in Santiago by myself? Yeah. Are you okay? Can we buy you a glass of wine? Yeah. I'm like, I'm good.
Everything okay?
But I'd love
home?
to talk to you. Yeah. Is everything okay?
No, I mean, I feel like people that don't do this miss out on so much, because I've done that too. I've been to Buenos Aires. I've traveled to Mexico and all over the place by myself, and I'd share that with people, and they'd be like, "You went alone?" And I was like,
"Weren't you lonely?"
No, man. I make up my own fun on the flips. Just living. It's just like, I don't know what's going to happen, and who cares? Like, the surprise is the best part of that. Sometimes
it is. And I met hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Camino was probably the hardest choice to make to go on the solo, because I was in such a tough mind space.
Yeah.
But I trusted Bill. Bill told me it would help me, and I saw how it completely transformed him and his life.
Yeah.
And helped him heal.
How long is that trip? I'm not familiar with the Camino.
It's 500 miles.
Okay.
And it's the Camino means the way.
Okay.
And Santiago is St. James. So it's 28 different routes in Spain, and it's the ways that St. James walked to spread Christianity, because Spain was occupied by the Moors at the time that he was alive. But there's one route that most people walk. It's called the French Way, and it starts in the French Pyrenees, and you go up and over into Spain, but it's 500 miles, and all of those routes lead to Santiago, where St. James remains are in the cathedral there.
Yeah. So did you do the whole 500 miles?
I did.
Wow,
yeah.
That's impressive.
In 38 days,
Yeah.
36 of those I was walking. I took an extra day in Pamplona because I just was excited about going where Ernest Hemingway had been, being a writer. I was wanting to check it out. And then I got sick and had to stay an extra day in Lyon while I got medicine. But other than that, I was walking every day. It's like an average of 15 miles a day.
Did you get any inspiration for this book that you published when you were there? Or did it inspire other writings for you when you were there? Yeah.
I just call them essays because I really don't know I've written a lot of essays. My second book is called The Traveling Effect.
Okay.
So I'm continuing with the word effect throughout the books. And that will be about my year of solo travel. So I'm writing that now. And I'm writing a workbook to go with the swipe right effect as well. But I love to write, so it actually comes easily to me. I'm not one of those tortured authors.
Yeah, there's so much to write about, too.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like the more I write and the faster I get it done, I can move on to the next project. And, I like the creative process. But I also, my process is to think it through before I even start writing.
Right.
Like, I know what my chapters are going to be.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
With Swipe Right Effect, before I even knew the name of the book, I knew the outline. I had it all laid out in my head before I ever even created the outline.
Wow. So you write essays, I write scribblings.
Yeah, scribblings, I like that.
I just I have this thing. What I do is I eavesdrop a lot I'll go into a case in point. You're traveling by yourself. I always have my little black notebook, and I hear the most amazing conversation. And the person who just spouted out this amazing, flurry of words and combinations that they didn't even know what they just said was like gold. And I'm writing that down, or I'll just
that could be a song.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, all that. So I'll just collect these pieces, song titles, phrases, whatever. But yeah, writing is such a joy, no matter what way you adopt, whatever your policy is to write. It's just keep writing. Tell me about the podcast. So what are your plans for this? This sounds exciting to me. Are you pumped up about it?
I am so excited. Yeah, I released my first podcast yesterday, and so
wow, first podcast yesterday. You're here today. Mom's birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah,
this is a good trifecta.
This is a good trifecta.
Yes, I'm telling
I love
you,
that.
Kelly.
Yeah. So my word for the year is gather, and I want to have conversations that hopefully draw people in and help them make the choice to move on or to get better, or to, even if it's a small little choice that helps you be happier, live happier. And some of the people who are in the book are coming on to be interviewed. But I'm also just in the podcast community. As I've been going on podcasts as guests, I'm meeting the most incredible people.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, you need to come talk to my audience. And but it's all about choosing yourself and the different ways to do that. We'll be talking about dating, especially dating after 50. And we'll also be talking about big life change and how to get unstuck. But I want to provide little morsels here and there that are helpful to people.
Right.
I'm on a mission to help people get unstuck.
Yeah. Best place for people to connect to you. Where should they go?
My website is ckcollins.co.
Okay.
I also give away the first chapter of my book. If somebody wants to see if they would like it, see if they think it would help. So it's the preface and chapter 1 and the first empowerment practice. And so that is at swiperightchapter.com.
Okay.
It's also on my website, but sometimes Swipe Right Chapter is easier to remember.
Yeah.
So I have that domain pointing to the free chapter. But my website's full of free references. And I also have a YouTube channel for CK Collins Author. And I have a lot of recordings there that kind of talk through different ways to get unstuck. I have meditations on there that are from the book. And I'm just going to keep pumping video content onto the YouTube channel to hopefully help people.
Great. We'll put all the links in the show notes so you guys can connect to Kelly. But before we wrap up, I want to know, like, this is such a turning point for you after hearing you today and your story and talking right now. Where do you see it going? Like, and how are you feeling about it? I know you're feeling really good, and, you know, like I said, you radiate. But do you have, like, a vision of, like, what's it going to look like in a year or two? Like, what your life is like right now?
Yeah, I think as I take on, I mean, I'm definitely going to have to limit my clients.
Right.
I want to get the second book, the workbook, and the second book, which I guess will be a third book.
Yeah.
Now that I've written the workbook, I want, you know, get that off the ground, and then I'd like to get back to traveling again.
Yeah.
I'm not even missing it right now because I'm loving what I'm doing, but I want to have the right amount of clients to where I'm doing a great job for them, holding them accountable and keep helping them get better and get unstuck. But I also would like to travel. I have this big, hairy, audacious goal of book tours in Scotland and Ireland and Spain.
Nice. And it shall be, if that's what you're...
It shall be.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Kelly Collins, everybody, you know where to get her, all right? Thank you so much for being a part of podcasting your global career. And in parting, I just want to wish all of God's blessings on you, your family, and your career moving forward.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Hey, if you guys like what's going on here, please leave a great review in the Apple Podcasts. I've left a simple review process in the show notes, and we'd really appreciate it. And also, don't be shy. Forward this to your best friend because you know they need it. Hey, if you need some coaching, hit up the link in the show notes. It's calendly.com/Dharmic. And you can take a little chance with me, and I'll get you on your way. That's a wrap for me today. I'm your host, James Kevin O'Connor. So until the next time when we meet again, I'll either see you on the socials or I'll see you from the stage.
Ride on, baby, won't you take a ride with me? Ride on, we can untangle all the mystery. If wishes were windows, I'd open one and find that freedom is really a simple state of mind. So ride on, baby, won't you take a ride with me? Ride on, we can untangle all the mystery. Ride on, baby, you and I can find the key. Ride on, we can unlock each other's destiny. I taste the breeze of freedom, it's tingling on my tongue. You and I out on the road will stay other's destiny. I'll take you places that you've never seen. I'll take you places that you never dreamed. I'll take you places that were pictures in your mind. I'll take you places beyond the reach of time.